Hey friends, happy Thursday. Welcome back to the kitchen. I am so excited to make some Greek chicken wraps with you guys today. If any of you caught my stories yesterday, I shared with you the marinade for these delicious Greek chicken wraps. This is kind of like Gyro-Style chicken. I know last week I said shawarma, but it's a different spice blend. So we're going with Greek style. We're not gonna mix two different cuisines. We're gonna go with Greek style chicken. I have been making this yogurt marinated chicken for years. It's super delicious. The marinade is really quick and easy, and then we're gonna turn them into really delicious wraps that are perfect for dinner or lunch. Really any time of the day. If you want to eat them for breakfast, that's great. They're balanced, they're delicious. And we're also going to make a really easy tzatziki sauce with some Greek yogurt. So I'm going to share with you how I cook up the chicken, and then I'm going to go ahead and share with you how I make up the tzatziki sauce and how I pull it all together as a wrap. It's going to be quick and easy, and I hope that with all of these classes, it just inspires you to get in the kitchen, and that making delicious meals doesn't have to be hard. It can be simple. Even when we do something like marinate something ahead of time, I know that that extra step can sometimes feel like it's one more thing to do, but you guys, this literally took me like 60 seconds to whip together yesterday, and it's gonna make some really delicious chicken. And the chicken is gonna take like maybe 10 minutes to cook. I've got a grill pan over here. You could cook this on the grill or on the stove top. So let me just talk really quick about the ingredients I've got in front of me to give you guys a little idea of what we're going to be putting together. And then we will talk about the chicken and get the chicken started cooking. So I'm gonna get this on over here, my pan. Uh-oh. Plugging in the hot plate would be helpful. All right, we're not the Food Network over here, but that's okay, because that's what Cook with Kris is all about. It is, home kitchen cooking in a way that is really delicious and flavorful. So, all right, what do we have going on here? So first of all, I've got that Greek yogurt marinated, or the yogurt marinated chicken that I mentioned to you guys. So if you didn't see in my stories, it's probably still up there right now. But this is yogurt, lemon juice, garlic, so fresh garlic cloves that I minced in there, some salt, some oregano, some thyme, a little bit of olive oil, whisked it all together, and I've just marinated it overnight. So I'm going to slice this. These are boneless, skinless chicken thighs. You can use whatever type of chicken you want. I recommend the thighs because they do stay a little bit more moist, or chicken tenders. That totally works too. So they're just in there, and I'm actually gonna slice them up, and we're gonna cook them on the grill pan once the grill pan is nice and hot. I'm just gonna use a little avocado oil spray. I love this one from Trader Joe's because it's literally just avocado oil. This one's actually brand new. Sorry, Mom. I'm opening up your new avocado oil spray. But yeah, it's just avocado oil, and it's just kind of in a spray bottle. So we're gonna use that. You can use olive oil, you can use whatever you want. You just wanna make sure that it doesn't stick on the pan. So we've got our marinated chicken. And again, this recipe it's always gonna be my stories after I go live. So you can always check out my stories after. You can take a screenshot of the recipe. It'll all be there for you. So we've got that chicken. To create our wraps, you can use whatever type of wrap that you want to. Or you can turn this into a salad and make it into a salad as well. This is super versatile. Actually, I'm looking at a really delicious Greek salad in front of me. I'm just happy to be putting on a wrap. So I just have regular old pita bread, which I love. I love a good wrap. So we're gonna put it on pita bread, especially with all the fresh vegetables and the tzatziki sauce, so good. You could also make it as lettuce wrap. So I've got a ton of romaine lettuce. I already just washed and dried this. That's gonna add some crunch to it. So we've got the soft pita, which I'll show you what I do with it to kind of up level the pita a little bit. We'll do that in a little bit. We've got the lettuce. I'm gonna use some tomatoes. I've got grape tomatoes. If it's tomato season, some really juicy Roma tomatoes would be really great. I'm gonna do some thinly sliced cucumber. This is English cucumber, which is my favorite because it doesn't have seeds. You don't have to worry about them. Some Kalamata olives, some red onion, optional. I like the little bit of zing it adds to it, but I know red onion can be a lot for some people, so it's all good. And feta cheese. You guys, this is one area where I do like to be bougie. A really good quality sheep's milk feta, it makes a difference, especially when it's in a brine. So when it's in the salty liquid, oh my gosh, you guys, it's so good, and it's worth like a couple extra bucks. It's gonna make your wraps so much better. So if you're gonna spend the money on something, this is where I recommend it. And we're not talking like $12 on cheese. I think this was $7, which is a lot more than we spend on a lot of cheeses, but it's worth it. in my opinion, but you get whatever feta you've got. You'll notice that a lot of my stuff is from Aldi, and this is the one thing I'm like, no, I'm getting the good stuff. I'm all about saving where we can and spending where it's worth it. Got some Greek yogurt here. This is just plain whole milk Greek yogurt, and that is for the tzatziki sauce. For those of you who don't know, tzatziki is a cucumber dill sauce that goes on top. A tahini sauce is a really great alternative if you want to make this lower dairy. I mean, it's hard to do the Greek yogurt marinated chicken without yogurt. But if you don't want to use the tzatziki sauce, a tahini sauce works really well as well. And I've got one of those on my website as well. If you want to know the tahini sauce ingredients, I can share that with you. Actually very similar to the tzatziki minus the cucumber and the dill. So I've got my Greek yogurt. I've got some fresh dill. I've got some just little Persian cucumbers that I needed to use up because they're gonna go soon. Some fresh garlic, lots of fresh garlic. Our immune systems are gonna be great. And some lemon. And of course, some salt. You can use sea salt, you can use real salt. For this, I like a fine grained salt because it is a sauce. So that's what we've got going on over here. My pan is heating up, so I'm just gonna add that little bit of avocado oil spray I mentioned. Like I said, you can use an oil. This is just avocado oil in here. It just makes it a little bit easier on the grill pan. And you can definitely use a grill if you've got a grill. It's starting to warm up here. Unfortunately, my hair is wavy today. It means it's a very rainy day outside here in New England. So once my dad's grill is up and rolling, we will definitely make these on the grill in the summertime. But for now, we've got a nice grill pan over here. It's one of the things in the kitchen that I love, but it's definitely not an essential. Like, I don't think you need a grill pan, but I do really love it. So if you got one, use it. I'm actually gonna switch out my cutting boards real quick. The reason it's wet is because I use a wet paper towel underneath to secure it. That's a really easy little kitchen trick there to make chopping things a little bit easier. But I'm gonna switch it out, and I'm going to, Instagram's like, don't go away. I'm going to use a plastic cutting board just for food safety because I'm going to use my chicken is raw over here. So I'm going to move my veggies out of the way, and I'm going to slice my chicken into long strips. So you have a couple options here. You can slice it into long strips. You can also, if you are using a grill, you can also turn it into kebabs if you would like as well, and just chop them into smaller pieces. Skewer them. If you have metal skewers, that works the best. If you don't have metal skewers, then you want to make sure you soak your wooden skewers. Just a little aside. I know this is not the prettiest looking thing, so just like, look at me. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I've got my yogurt marinated chicken. I'm just gonna take it out and slice it into long strips here. So let's talk about, for any of you who didn't see my stories, no worries if you didn't, what I marinated the chicken in. I just mentioned it briefly, but the chicken is marinated in some yogurt. And I use like 1/4 to 1/2 of a cup of yogurt. I honestly don't really measure. I use a good amount of lemon juice, and the acidity in the yogurt and the lemon juice really helps to keep the chicken moist. And then for flavoring, I'm adding some garlic, or I added some garlic. And you can do this anywhere from like 2 hours ahead of time to overnight. I prefer overnight. The longer, the better. And I just keep it in whole pieces, and then I slice it later, but it's totally up to you. You could slice it ahead of time if you wanted to, but I'd rather not like handle the raw chicken too much twice. I don't know. So and then the other, I'm like, what else is in there? Some garlic. I said garlic and thyme and oregano. So I use dried because that's what I have. Fresh is always better. So in the summertime, if you've got some fresh in your garden, that is awesome. But it's not that time of the year yet. Soon enough, but not quite yet. So use dried if that's all you got. It's all good. You can always substitute with whatever you need. Just so you know though, typically if you are going to use a dried spice versus a, making sure we're not getting too hot over here. If you're gonna use a dried spice versus, or a fresh spice versus herb, versus dried, it's about a 3-to-1 ratio. So it's about a tablespoon of the fresh to about a teaspoon of the dried. So if you're gonna use dried instead of fresh, it's about a teaspoon to 1 tablespoon and vice versa. Now I'm just getting myself dirty. All right, I've got my chicken all over here, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna put it in my pan over here. So this chicken, when you slice it up into smaller pieces, first of all, you want to make sure it's in one layer as much as you can. That's going to help it cook more evenly and help it brown. as with anything, I talk about this with vegetables too, you want to make sure that you give your food enough space to cook, enough space for that air to circulate around it, or else it'll just steam and you won't get that kind of like crispiness that you want on the bottom. So I'm going to try and fit it all in this pan as much as I can. And it's going to cook for about 5 minutes on one side, and we're just going to get it nice and golden on one side. And then we're going to flip it over to the other side. Now, this chicken is going to shrink down a little bit because that's what happens when you cook proteins. So I'm just going to let this cook because it's one full layer in the pan. I'm going to go move this chicken over to the other side of the kitchen to get it out of the way so I can do my other stuff. I'm going to go rinse my hands really quick because you got to stay safe. And I'll put the rest of the chicken on in just a minute, so hang tight. One day I'll have my ideal kitchen where I've got like my oven right here, my stove right here, and the oven down below, and my sink right here, and it'll be like the Food Network. It'll be great, but not yet. This is a close second. It works. All right, let's talk. The chicken's cooking over here. I'll grab some tongs in a minute, but it just needs to cook. I'm at like medium-high heat. I forgot to mention that. Medium-high. We don't want it so high that it burns the chicken because yogurt does have a little bit of, it's got some lactose in it, so a little bit of sugar in it. So it will, if you put it on too hot, it will burn a little tiny bit. So let's go ahead and make our tzatziki sauce. All right, so your traditional tzatziki sauce uses cucumber, dill, yogurt, lemon, and garlic. It's a beautiful combination. The cucumber is slightly sweet, but as we know, cucumber is really, really high in water. And so that means that it can make our tzatziki sauce a little bit runny. Now, the other thing that helps the tzatziki sauce be a little bit thicker, which I like, it makes it more of a dip than something that feels like a salad dressing. So I like that kind of in between. Oh, by the way, I do like to put a little bit of olive oil in there too. I'll add that kind of at the end. I'll show you how I do that. But what we do with the cucumber is, you saw I just sliced off the end of the cucumber, and I'm actually going to grate the cucumber. This is just a cheese grater. You can use a box grater as well. And because it does have so much water in it, I really love to grate it. Okay. This is not working. This is my mom's cheese grater. We're going to work for it. This might not be working. You guys. So for those of you who don't know, I film up here at my parents' kitchen because mine's just a little bit hard to film in. Any of you follow me over on stories notice the difference in the kitchens. And so sometimes I use her equipment, and it's an interesting experience. So the reason why we are grating, so just, while I search for the other grater, the reason why we are grating is because we wanted to squeeze out some of that extra water so it doesn't get so it's not super liquidy. So one more try. Nope. I can do the teenager like, Mom! But that wouldn't be very nice of me. So let's try grating with a microplane. You guys know I love my microplane. Ah! What? It's not gonna have the same effect. It's gonna be very, very, very well grated when I do it like this, but so use a box grater or use a cheese grater that works a little bit better than this one. Make sure your grater works before you go to grate it. And I'm using about 1/4 cup. It's gonna make like 3/4 cup of sauce. I'm gonna use about 1/4 cup of cucumber, about 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt, 1 big clove of garlic. You can add more or less depending on your preference for garlic. Raw garlic can be a bit intense, but because of the lemon juice, it does take it down a notch. It doesn't end up being super potent. Okay, as you can see, can you guys see how much liquid has already released from this cucumber here? Wow. Okay. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna grab a paper towel. And however your cucumber is grated, we're gonna put it over a small bowl. Okay, and we're gonna add the cucumber to the bowl. And again, this is about 1/4 cup. And hey, if there's anything in this where you're like, ew, I do not like cucumber, well, you've probably turned this off by now, but I don't like cucumber, I don't want to use cucumber, leave it out. It's all good. Modify, modify, modify in a way that works for you, okay? My chicken is looking like it is almost ready to flip, not quite yet. Okay, so we laid it out in the paper towel. I do recommend, if it's a little bit more, if it's grated a little bit thicker than this, I do recommend letting it sit in the paper towel for like maybe 5 minutes or so, and letting it drain a little bit on its own. You can also add a tiny bit of salt. That'll help to release some of the water. And you guys, look at how much, can you see that? It's so hard, I'm gonna spill it. I've tried this before. Okay, there's a ton of liquid in the bottom there. So, and then there's a ton in the paper towel. This is just gonna make it a better consistency. It's one small little step that's gonna make a big difference in the consistency. So now, I'm gonna put our grated cucumber in the bottom of another bowl, because we don't want it in the watery bowl. All right, and then we've got some grated cucumber in there. We're gonna pause for a second, turn the chicken over, because we don't want the chicken to get too brown. I just use tongs for this. And you can see, I'm gonna show you, the chicken is super golden and delicious. So we didn't even talk about traditional like gyro or shawarma. Oh, this one's even better. That one was on the edge. There we go, that's what we're going for. So good. Okay, and I just dripped on my cutting board. So, traditional shawarma or gyro are very, very similar. So it's typically chicken that is cooked on kind of a, it's not a spit, it is a spit. So you've probably seen this in Greek or Middle Eastern restaurants. It's a long cylindrical rotisserie, essentially, and they put very thinly sliced pieces of meat on, like marinated meat, on in the morning, and it just spins and cooks all day long. If you haven't had it, it's amazing. Now, that is not something that I have access to in my house, so the alternative I like is making the marinade and grilling the chicken. And like I said, this is one of my favorite things to put on the grill in the summertime, especially as kebabs. Really, really delicious. And by the way, the kids really like this too. You'll see the chicken is really moist and flavorful. It's not at all spicy, but like I said, it is super flavorful. So this is a great family-friendly recipe. All right, back to our tzatziki. We've got our cucumber that has been nice and strained, so there's not a ton of liquid in there. We're gonna grab some dill. Okay. So you can use as much dill as you love. I could make so many dill jokes right now, but I'm not going to. Maybe I will, we'll see. Then you'll just have to deal with it. You guys signed up for this, or maybe you didn't. All right, so I'm gonna get a couple tablespoons. Typically I use about 2 tablespoons of fresh dill. I love the smell of fresh dill. It's one of my favorite things to put in my little balcony garden in the summertime. And we're just gonna chop it up nice and small. So with any herbs, I just gather them into a big bunch, okay? Chop in one direction, hold the edge, okay? And chop in the other direction until it's nice and small. When you are chopping anything, any sort of vegetables, the goal is that you just want it as even as possible, because you do not want one giant bite of dill and then like none in the next bite. Actually, funny enough, you guys, I did, what did I make last week? Who was here last week? What did I make last week? Last week I made pad thai, and I was eating with my parents and my sister, and I used like the tiniest amount of red pepper flakes in the pad thai, and you know, generally they, in the pad thai sauce, they mix throughout, and it just adds like a little bit of spice. My sister happened to get like one of the pieces of the red pepper flakes. She's like, oh, this is spicy. I'm like, no, it's not. She got the one tiny piece, so. You can't really do anything about red pepper flakes. It happens. We don't want that to happen with dill because that's not very pleasant. So I'm gonna add about, so I've got my dill and my cucumber. And you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add the garlic right now too, and then we'll add the yogurt to it. There is really honestly no rhyme or reason. I don't feel the need to, other than the cucumber mise en place for a sauce like this. It's like the only time that we don't mise en place. And for those of you who don't know, mise en place means everything in its place, and it's getting everything ready ahead of time so that cooking is easy, and that's what I did with all the other ingredients ahead of time. All right, so I'm using 1 big clove of garlic. If you want more, you add more. You do you. I'm all about all of the garlic. 1 clove is quite a bit, though, for a sauce where it's going to remain raw. I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of yogurt in there. Okay. We are going to add the juice of about 1/2 lemon. So about 1 to 2 tablespoons of juice, depending on the size of your lemon. One of my favorite kitchen tools. By the way, you guys, if any of you are podcast listeners, tomorrow's Healthy Mama Hacks episode is another requested episode on my favorite kitchen tools. So I'm going to share with you guys my top 15 essential kitchen tools, like as if you were going to start over with a brand new kitchen, what I would recommend you buy. Basically, this is what I am telling my sister she has to buy for her kitchen when she moves out in the fall. But they're like my top 15 essentials. I have a very minimalist kitchen. I don't use a lot of fancy things. I don't think you need a lot of fancy things in order to be a good cook and in order to be efficient in the kitchen. There's just a few things that I love, and this little tiny strainer is one of them. So I just added the juice of about 1/2 lemon. You can always add more. I've got another 1/2 lemon. I'm gonna add a good pinch of sea salt right to the top here. Remember, this is a sauce, so it's okay if your sauces are a little bit more concentrated. If you've ever tried, like if you've ever tasted a salad dressing by itself, you're like, whoa, it's a little salty. That's because that salad dressing is concentrated for a reason. It's gonna go over the entire salad and get mixed with it. And I'm just flipping over my chicken here again because it looked like it was ready for like 1 more turn, and then it'll be done in just a sec. And then I'll put the rest of the chicken on. So you want your sauces to be a little concentrated because they are seasoning your dish. So it's okay if it tastes a little hint saltier than if you were to like eat it as a soup, because you're not going to eat this as a soup. It's going to be as a sauce. It's going to be spread out. Obviously you don't want it to taste really, really salty or really, really sweet, but you know, go with your gut, test it out. What else do I need for this? That's it, you guys. Oh, a little bit of olive oil. I like a tiny drizzle. It just adds to the texture. I am using full-fat Greek yogurt, and that also helps with the texture, especially if you're using non-fat or low-fat yogurt. The olive oil just adds a little bit of mouthfeel to it, so I do like that. So, all right, a little bit of olive oil. I can smell the chicken, so we're turning it off. Okay. This could not be less complicated. You guys definitely didn't even need a tutorial on this, but we're here and we're cooking the chicken, so you're getting a tutorial. All right, so this is the consistency I like. I like it a little bit thicker. If you want it thinner, you can thin it out with a little bit of water if you would like. You could also add some more lemon juice depending on the flavor you like. I gotta get a plate for this chicken. The kitchen is only so big. I can't have everything in front of me. All right, we're taking this chicken off and I will show it to you. That did not take very long at all, did it? Okay, so this chicken cooks nice and fast. It's not something that I feel like you need to, if you feel more comfortable, I always, always, always recommend using a meat thermometer because these are small pieces. Once the juices don't run clear, you can estimate it about 5 minutes per side. You should be pretty good. If they're smaller pieces, it might even take less time. But just make sure the juices run clear. It's not pink in the center. Like that one I'm gonna keep on. Everything else looks good. Look at how delicious that looks, you guys. And how easy was that? How easy was that? All right. We're gonna put the rest of the chicken on because there needs to be enough for my dad. If you're watching, Dad. He pops on every so often. He likes to show his friends at work and be like, hey, that's my kitchen. They know, Dad. Love you, Dad. All right, rest of the chicken's on. New tongs. Let me go ahead and taste the tzatziki sauce. So I always say this every time, but I want you guys to know that when I say season to taste, it is seasoned to your taste, okay? I lost connection there for a second. Sorry, guys. Sometimes it happens because we're in New England. It is windy and rainy. So I'm going to add okay, apparently we're just going to do this with the connection today. I hope not. I added a teeny tiny bit more salt to my tzatziki, and I'm just going to add like a little tiny bit more lemon juice. The garlic is pretty strong. I know that we all love the taste of garlic, even my kids. So it doesn't bother me. But if you do need to tone it down a little bit more lemon juice will help. And while it sits and it does soak into the lemon juice and the yogurt, it will also tone down a little bit. So let me just taste it one more time. Oh, perfect. So good. All right, we're gonna put that aside. And I'll taste it as well in a little bit because we're not gonna eat this until dinner. Turning the rest of my chicken up over here to make sure it cooked. All right. And then I'm going to show you guys how I assemble this into a really delicious wrap and what I do to put it all together. I told you guys this was going to be a quick one. I love sharing with you guys full meals that come together in like a half an hour or less because honestly, you guys, I do not spend more than 20 to 30 minutes cooking a night at all. And it has nothing to do with my culinary experience and everything to do with the fact that I prep a little bit ahead and I am really intentional about choosing recipes that are easy. And it's one of the reasons I love talking about efficient cooking because it can be done. Dinner does not have to be stressful. I still need my cutting board, so we're gonna bring that back to the game. Okay, all right, so how are we gonna put these wraps together? Let me just get my yogurt out of the way here. I already showed you guys all the ingredients, but I'm gonna give you guys a recap of the ingredients I'm gonna use for the wrap. So I love serving these as a family style dish. If you guys have ever heard me talk about base meals, so a base meal is just a meal that I put out. I have one base, so maybe it's rice or maybe it's a protein. I have one base to the meal, and then I allow my family members to mix and match the toppings. So we love doing this for salads. We do it for burger bowls. We do this for tacos. We do this for bowls, which is my favorite meal to make. I love making balanced bowls, and also things like wraps like this, because I know that one of my kids loves cucumbers. The other kid can't stand cucumbers. Both of my kids love tomatoes. One of them will eat raw red onion. The other one, not very interested in red onion. So instead of making them a meal and having them go, Mommy, I don't like this, okay? It's not a big deal to me that one of them doesn't eat onion. And I also don't need to be a short order cook because been there, done that. No one's paying me to do it now, so I'm not gonna do it now. And you don't have to either. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm going very slowly with this because I'm looking at you guys. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna lay it all out and we are all going to enjoy it family style, but I'll share with you if I'm putting this wrap together for myself, how I'm gonna put it together. So I just sliced up some cucumber, just really thinly sliced cucumber. Use a mandolin if you want to as well. I'll chop up the rest after because dinner's not for a few hours. Check on our chicken over here. Needs another minute. You are welcome to cut up your tomato if you'd like to slice up your tomatoes. I'm gonna slice them in half, and I'm also gonna slice up a little bit of onion. No crazy onion techniques with this one. Honestly, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut the bottom off because whenever we chop anything, we wanna make sure that we have a flat surface on the bottom, especially something, well, when we cut anything round, we want a flat surface on the bottom. I'm just gonna slice it in half, and I'm just gonna slice half moons. Nice and thin, because just like with the dill, we don't want huge pieces of onion. As delicious as it is on one of these wraps, we want them all to be as even as possible. So I'm just gonna go ahead and peel this, but it is looking like it might be giving me a little bit of trouble. All right, you guys get to watch me peel an onion. Yay. I just peeled the top layer off. That's an easy trick. All right, let me grab my plate for the chicken real quick. So something that I love to do while I grab this chicken off the grill, Something that I love to do, especially if you're using a full-size grill, is right before serving, is to really quickly grill the pita, okay? It's gonna make so much of a difference. It just softens it up and gives it just a little bit of, couple little grill marks on it, a little bit of extra flavor, and it's just, it elevates it just a little bit, right? And we're all about that. We're all about the little things that's gonna make the meal more satisfying, more delicious, without making it overly complicated, because we don't want any sort of complication around here. So I'm just slicing into just thin half moons over here, okay? And do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna lay this all out on a plate and share with you kind of what it would look like if I was to lay this out for the fam, which is honestly what I'm gonna do later tonight, after I have a call with my Supermama Society ladies after this. All right, so we're just gonna lay it all out. I'm gonna grab some Kalamata olives. These are new Kalamata olives. You can leave any of this out. If you're not interested in olives, you can leave the olives out. You could leave the feta out if you want to leave the feta out. I'm gonna put these in a bowl. Like I said, you can only have so much, we only have so much space on the counter, so sometimes I've got to go and grab some bowls. It just is, it is what it is. Use the space that you have. Certainly do not need a giant kitchen to make some really delicious meals, or fancy equipment like I was mentioning earlier. So if you guys are interested in my favorite cooking equipment, that podcast episode is going to be out tomorrow on my favorite kitchen equipment for efficient cooking, and then I also have a blog post associated with it that will go up tomorrow morning as well. So if you're interested in that, I will share that with you guys. I love talking kitchen equipment, but more importantly, I love having a minimalist kitchen, because I don't like a lot of stuff, but I like my kitchen working for me. So I've got some olives right here. I've got my cucumbers. I've got my red onions. I've got my olives. I shared with you guys my lettuce before. I'm just going to slice these tomatoes, and I'm going to slice them lengthwise, okay? Because they're a lot harder to eat when they're sliced in half. So I'm going to slice them vertically, not horizontally. So just like that. And by the way, you want to make sure this is a vegetable knife. This is by Global Knives, which is my favorite knife brand. Mostly because they're really, really light and they're really easy to use. A lot of people ask my favorite knives. I don't think knives, you need to get the most expensive knife. These are like a really mid-range knife for professional knives. They're not crazy expensive. You can get, we're back. You can get a starter set for like $150, which to some people are like, that's a lot for knives, but it's not. If you're getting a good quality knife, you can get one of them for like $100. So if you're starting your knife collection, they're great. They're super lightweight and they're super, they last forever. We're doing this with a connection, apparently. Okay, so this is how I would lay it out for my family, okay? So I have my plate, and then obviously we would quadruple the size of this plate, which I will later on, but just to show you guys, okay? We've got our cucumber, we've got our onions, we've got our tomatoes, we've got our Kalamata olives. We're gonna get some feta cheese. So any of you who haven't used a block of feta like this, you're missing out. You're gonna try it now, and you're gonna notice the difference. It's so good. And then of course my pitas, or whatever wraps you want to use. You can use a gluten-free wrap if you're gluten-free. You can use lettuce wraps if you want to use lettuce wraps, or you can turn this all into a salad, because as you might notice, all of these ingredients are exactly what you would put in a really nice Greek salad. So all about the versatility of base meals, right? And so that is the beauty of a meal like this, is you can put all these ingredients out and everyone in your family can make a meal that's just a little bit different, but is really satisfying for everyone. Okay, and I forgot to mention, obviously I'm teaching about chicken today, but this whole meal works really well as a vegetarian option if you use roasted chickpeas. So if you have someone in your family, so all I did is I'm just taking the feta out of the brine. If you have family members who prefer to eat less meat, then you could also use roasted chickpeas. And I think I'm gonna do roasted chickpeas soon. So I'm literally just crumbling this It crumbles super easily. And yes, you can get crumbled feta, but oftentimes they add extra ingredients to the crumbled feta. And it honestly, to me, it just takes away from the flavor and it takes away from the really beautiful texture. This is the type of feta that you would use if you're using that like, what is it, viral TikTok feta pasta sauce recipe, which no, I have not tried. But I do love me some feta cheese. All right, feta cheese. Does it make a mess? Yes. Have your kids help you with it. Kids love making a mess. Let's put it together in a wrap, okay? We got our plate. And you guys, this is not complicated at all. I just want to share with you my method as to how I would put this together. So like I said, I love throwing this on the grill if you have a bigger grill. I'm not going to put it on the hot plate. I love throwing it on the grill, just giving it a few grill marks before I go ahead and put it together. Now, I like keeping it like this. You can slice it in half. You can turn it into a pocket. The reason I like keeping it like this is because it's sturdier and it's going to be easier to eat. So I always start, and this goes for sandwiches as well, okay, with putting the lettuce on, okay? The lettuce is going to act as a little bit of a barrier to the, like the condiments that you're gonna put on top of it. And so it's going to be less likely that it's going, so as long as your lettuce is dry, okay? It's gonna be less likely that your bread gets soggy, especially if it's gonna be a little while before you eat. I'm gonna start with that. I'm gonna add my chicken. So I'm gonna add, where are my tongs? Okay. And because, like, there's a reason I had you guys put them in either long, thin pieces or in cubes, because it's way easier than trying to put like a giant piece of chicken on your wrap. And this is probably plenty. Okay, and so even kids can throw this together like that. So I'm just gonna lay them out like that. And then I'm gonna add my toppings. So this is my wrap. So I'm gonna add some red onions. You can put tongs or something out on your table if you don't want people to be, you know, small children to be reaching their grubby fingers into the communal. We always have our kids wash their hands before dinner, but you don't know where they've been before between the bathroom and the kitchen table. Okay. All right, I'm gonna add some olives to it. You could slice your olives in half if you want to. I kind of like the olives whole. And some tomatoes. These are kind of big tomatoes, I won't lie. I probably would have sliced these a little bit. If I had had the foresight, I probably would have sliced these a little bit thinner. All right. We just want to make sure that we can wrap it all up, okay? That's our only goal. I'm gonna add a little bit of feta on top. Almost done here, you guys. It's gonna be so good. And I'm gonna leave the tzatziki sauce off for now, only because it is gonna be like 3 to 4 hours before I eat this. So there you have it, you guys. And then we've got our beautiful Greek. Look at that. That looks like something you can get from a restaurant. You made it at home. It was really quick and easy. It's $2.39, and that's with me making 2 batches of chicken, so we have enough for at least 4, if not 6 adults, and plus a couple little minions. We've got our tzatziki sauce, which you could also buy. You could buy a tzatziki sauce or use a tahini sauce as well, which will take a little bit of extra time. Remember, we struggled with the grater. There was that extra time. This is a 30-minute dinner. It'll come together so quickly for you guys. It's really, really flavorful, and it is. It's like something you can get at a restaurant, but it came together in 30 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the recipe over on my stories. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for being here. Next week, we are gonna make a spring risotto. It's spring officially this weekend. I hope it feels like spring here in New England, but either way, we're gonna make a spring risotto next week. So if you wanna join me, same time, same place, 2 o'clock Eastern, here in the kitchen, I'm gonna share a spring risotto, and it's going to be delicious. That one's gonna be a little bit longer than a 30-minute dinner. We're gonna say maybe like 35, 40. But it's a great date night recipe, or it's a great recipe for the weekend when you have a little bit more time, but it's also family friendly. The kids love it, and it's great for spring. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your Thursday. I gotta hop off and go teach a coaching call. All right, have a great day, guys.